Lois Kofi, transformational coach and plant medicine woman. Excited to have you learn today to be inspired and equipped on how to live your best health, your best wealth, by trusting that best innate wisdom that lies within. We'll be talking about psychedelics, microdosing, spirituality, shamanism, inner child healing, trauma release, and so much more. Grab a cup of coffee, enjoy, tune in, invite a friend. We look forward to serving you. Hey, everybody. It's Coach Lois. Happy Friday. Happy almost full moon. I am so excited. That was my new intro video I was just testing out today and so honored. Thank you for tuning in today on this monologue. It's Freedom Friday. I like to have different themes on different days of the week, and today is Freedom Friday. Today I'm talking about healing the masculine wound. You heard me talk about it a little bit on Wisdom Wednesday. I brought out that conversation starter, because I'm going to be talking about this a lot the next few weeks because it's Father's Day month. A lot of us have had, conversations around the mother wound this past month, and now we're going to focus on the father wound / masculine wound. And I was just talking with a client today, and she's been blown away how much she's really raised her consciousness around how this wound has negatively impacted her life. No, we all have a father, whether we knew them or not. However, we also have a lot of other reasons that we would have a masculine wound. Our forefathers, ancestral, a lot of different male mentors in our life. Maybe you had a bad experience with an ex-male partner. Maybe you've been divorced. If you're female, maybe you have also carried a lot of, especially you single moms out there, maybe you've carried the weight of also being the quote unquote man of the house, right? Our society, it's prevalent. If you've watched TV over the decades, things have changed. We have all these male rulers, governments, leaders, presidents. There's oftentimes been a lot of issues around the feminist movement, right? And women's rights. And when you think about it, it all comes back to the masculine wound. And it's really important that I talk about this because I personally experienced this. And through the past 2 years, I would say it's been my deepest core wound. Even though I talked last month about the mother wound and how obviously the first person that you experience life with is your mom because you were in utero. There was no way around that unless you were cloned, right? So we all had a mom. However, in society, it's a lot prevalent where the masculine energy is more dominant in our life. It can show up in many different ways, not just in your father, whether you knew him or not, whether he was emotionally available there for you or not, whether he was, more angry, in charge, in control, or was he loving, soft, tender? There's a lot of different layers behind that relationship, and really that core relationship of our fathers, and then maybe grandfathers, maybe any other male figures in our life. In the first 25 years, they really, really make a deep, deep impact on our psyche, on our personality. And sometimes, as we get closer to Father's Day, there can be more stuff that comes up for you. I've had at least 3 people tell me the past week, and two of them actually were fathers. Another one was a female talking about how they're having stuff around their dad coming up. The role of a father. Maybe you are a father. Maybe you felt inadequate as a father, right? It can show up in all different ways, and it's easy to look at it from the father-child relationship, whether you yourself are a father or you think about and reflect on your father. However, we have many, many, many male relationships, many male mentors in our lives. And if you look at your life, there's also symptoms of the masculine wound that you may not be conscious of and may not realize that they're connected to. So if you study the brain, and I share this in lots of my classes, so some of you have heard this a lot, We have a masculine side of our brain on the left and a feminine energy side of the brain on the right. That has actually nothing to do with gender per se. You are a woman, you have a masculine and a feminine side of your brain, or you're a man, masculine, feminine, non-binary, masculine, feminine. It's the same for all of us, 100% of us. And so I don't want you to look at this as a male wound. So it's not just connected to your father or the men in your life. Or again, you don't have to be a man to be wounded masculine. Women have it. Oh my gosh, I have had it. And it happens in many religions, many wars, many governments actually are founded, unfortunately, and rooted in this wound. Now, I may say some things today that might trigger you, and that's okay. If you think about it, going way, way back to the beginning of Christianity as an example, even the Muslim world, women were oftentimes shut down, submissive, considered less than, and the masculine, the male, was considered in control, domination, all of that. In fact, I would say a lot of religions are based upon that. So our whole world is percolating this energy of control, power, greed in its unhealthy form. Now, this isn't all bad news. We also have a lot of people embodying the feminine, right? The love, the compassion, the beautiful receiving energy that I talked about on Wednesday is a feminine energy. However, and I don't have any stats to share with you. I don't have the science and all the numbers. I'm just talking from experience and what I've studied and what I've meditated upon and what I've experienced these past 2 years in releasing and healing a lot of addictive behaviors, healing a lot of pain and suffering, grief and trauma. I'm going to say probably about 75%. So 3/4 of my struggles in life, financial, health, all of it, came from the masculine wound. And remember, the masculine side of the brain is logic, analytics, numbers, getting shit done, execution, momentum. And when it's strong and solid, it's beautiful. Like, who doesn't like numbers and logic and execution and getting shit done, right? And making money, right? Sales is also on that side of the brain in regards to numbers. You could even say investing is also on that side of the brain. There's a lot of stuff. So if many cultures were based upon this wound, right? The male domination, the control, the power, the greed, it's the reason a lot of wars happened. It explains a lot of what's happening in our world and economy today. That wound also brings a lot of competitiveness, isolation, separation, right? You see, most of the time, women are always wanting to be nurturers and in groups and in friends and in the healing space, right? And it's because we're women. It's just more natural in us, right? Men do it too, but it's just more natural for women because that's how we were born. Then that feminine side is the receiving, the love, the compassion, the creativity, the intuition, the sensuality as well. So if you recognize that maybe in your life, these are the symptoms where that masculine energy is wounded or hurting or struggling in some capacity, this is how it shows up. It shows up as defensive. And oh boy, did I have a lot of that. Over competitive, very driven, always wanting to win. Over focus, imbalance focus, I might add, on money, sales, checking off the boxes, right? Again, doing can be very manipulative, getting what you want at no matter what the cost, right? Addiction, oftentimes comes from this because there's this control, this power, this dopamine hit, right? Dopamine is that pleasure center of the brain. And if you have too much of it, as well as too much cortisol physically, it causes more addiction. You can't get enough of whatever: success, power, money, alcohol, drugs, so on and so forth, right? Porn, I mean, all of it. As a result of that, then there's also burnout. You can become very controlling. It goes along with manipulative. Maybe if you're a control freak, everything has to look a certain way. Definitely a huge part of mine, that perfectionism, right? Never let them see you sweat. Wearing a mask, always got to be perfect. Over analytical thinking, overthinking, busy mind, usually busy ego. Emotionally shut down or unavailable. And then a big one is that disassociation that goes along with the emotionally unavailable. The automatic shutting down is just, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to think about it. A lot of times that might show up as you can only focus on like working, for example, and maybe spirituality, or working and fitness, or just working and family. Very narrow focus, and you put in your effort and then you crash. And notice in all of that is a lot of doing, is all or nothing mentality, right? There's no balance in there. There's no real harmony. So I bring this up to you because a lot of that will shut down that feminine. So it can bring about that burnout, but it also brings about scarcity, lack. Scarcity and lack is based and rooted in not worthy or not feeling enough. So I got to do more to prove myself, as opposed to sitting back, allowing, receiving, surrendering. That's more of the feminine side. In a war, it's really hard for people to surrender, right? Because they want to win. They want to be in charge. They want to, rape and pillage, roar. Again, it's that masculine energy that has really been kind of guiding our world for thousands of years. So if you go back to that list, and I'll go through them one more time, I want you to check these off and see if any of these are happening for you. Okay? So, defensiveness, over competitive, having to win no matter what the cost. Over focus on money or sales, also winning. Manipulation, addictive behaviors, codependent behaviors, looking for answers outside of yourself. Burnout, controlling or control freak. Overthinking, busy mind, busy ego. Emotionally unavailable. Disassociation, shutting down. All or nothing mentality. Wearing a mask or faking it. Basically, just got to be perfect. Everything is perfect, or I can't, be anything else, right? So if you really think about it, where do you notice these tendencies in your life? That's a question I want you to ponder. And then which mentors or role models, whether it's male or female, again, because it's just as much in women as it is in men, which male or female mentors or parents in your life embody these types of behaviors or tendencies in your life as a child? Where maybe do you see repetitive patterns in your family history, your ancestral DNA, especially if addiction or certain disease show up in your life? That's a telltale sign. They often say as well, this runs in my family. Well, I'm here to tell you it's the masculine wound and the traumas that are associated with as such that are running in your family, not the disease itself. The disease is just actually the symptom, the end physical manifestation. way before that ever showed up is where the root cause started. And again, that's oftentimes ancestral. You've heard me talk about that before. How do you embody these? How do you show up emotionally? Anger, rage, victim mentality, depression, anxiety. Just tune in with that. And I really encourage you to journal about this. Awareness and acknowledgement of this is key. And then also, how can you soften into the feminine? How can you start to heal? Now, this can't be healed alone. I will say that for my own personal experience and what I've seen in society. And especially there's a lot of scarcity, a lot of lack, a lot of financial issues out there. That's also a masculine wound, by the way. So how do you heal that? How do you soften into the feminine? How do you learn how to receive? Well, I definitely can help you. And if you want to learn more on how plant medicine can work with this, I have my class, Masculine Wound and Microdosing, on this coming Tuesday, June the 6th at 1:30 Pacific time. We're going to talk about this specifically because of Father's Day coming up, because of how prevalent I'm seeing it with my clients and society, because it was very much prevalent in myself. I looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw. They say awareness is the first step, however, acknowledging it and then having a way to bless and release it, let it go. How do you love yourself through it? How do you have compassion? Just stopping the behavior isn't going to heal it. You've got to course correct it, get into alignment, and come back into your feminine energy. So with that love, compassion, surrender, grace, sensuality, acceptance, nourishing yourself, receiving self-love and self-compassion first, it starts with you. So I hope you can attend my class on Tuesday. Feel free to email me, lois@loiscoffey.com, if you have questions, comments, feedback. And please hit the share button. Sharing is caring. If you share this with your community, you never know who you could help shift this experience that they're having right now that may be causing them to struggle and repeat the same cycle over and over and over again, modeling it for your children, right? They're watching, they're experiencing this as well. I know as I've healed this masculine wound, my son and my daughter both had better years in school. No surprise there, right? Because as I heal, I'm healing my lineage, both descendants and ancestors, forwards and back. So there's so much value and enrichment through this process. If you feel called, of course, and if this resonates with you, because it may not, and that's fine too. And if you're in the Phoenix, Arizona area, I am having a masculine wound ceremony on Saturday, June 10th, just in time for Father's Day. It's actually the day before the anniversary of my father's death. And I know how profound this is going to be for me to be able to serve those of you who are able to come and be there to receive that healing and that energy and that love. For you can't do this alone. No one succeeds alone. And I'm really, really, really passionate about this wound and how it can change your life for the better. So much love, so much more bliss, so much more joy, so much more peace, inner peace, outer abundance, all of it. So please hit the share button again if you saw value in this today. And I look forward to tuning in and seeing you guys on this journey and this next time. Until then, here's to your best health, your best wealth, your best wisdom. Bye-bye for now.